The following presentation of the Eric McKenna Project
is sponsored by no one.
Hello, you're listening to the Eric McKenna Project. Eddie Crow. Good to see you, buddy.
How are you, man?
I'm doing great.
How many cameras are on me right now?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Okay.
6 of them.
All right, the only difference is, I guess, I can actually see them rather than just walking down the street and them being on me and not being able to see them.
That doesn't happen, right?
No,
that
not at
There's
all.
not hidden cameras in society anywhere, right?
No, you're being filmed all the time, and not only are you being filmed all
You're
the
gonna
time.
like it.
Well, no. It's not a threat. It's not a tone. Not
gonna
only
like
are
it.
you being filmed all the time, you are going to be conned into paying ridiculous amounts of money, and you're going to believe it's a life necessity to carry around with you something that allows them to keep track of you all the
Isn't
time
that
anyway.
Interesting.
Alexas and things like that. Alexa.
Does that shit freak you out?
Oh, dear
Yeah,
God.
I don't have Alexa in my house.
I don't need any more
Do you
voices
activate
showing
the
up
Siri?
out of the blue, dude.
You don't activate that Siri thing on the
No.
iPhone? Yeah, I don't do that either.
No, I mean, I've made my peace with the fact that they can GPS me anytime they want. Whatever. The
Yeah.
people that said, well, the vaccine's got a chip in it. Dude, you're holding a chip next to your head. You saved them the effort. Not only did they not have to sneak the vaccine chip into you, you paid $1,400 for something that if you drop it, you got to replace. Yay,
And
capitals.
you'll willingly carry it around with you.
Yeah.
And lay in bed with it.
And lay in bed with it late at night and it
And
reads your
sit on
thoughts.
the throne with it.
It's science fiction from the 50s and the 60s that's actually happening.
What was the book? Was it Future Shock? What was the name
There's
of the
been a
book?
bunch. Here,
Oh, man. Future
required reading.
something?
You want to understand what's going on? Read Harrison Bergeron by Kurt Vonnegut. It's a short story. You don't
Vonnegut.
even have to commit to a book.
Okay.
Harrison Bergeron. Society decides
I
that
think I'll get
everybody
the
has to be
audiobook.
equal no matter what. They even have a government position, the handicapper general, to make sure everyone's equal no matter what. That's a whole lot of what's going on. It's different subjects besides surveillance, but I from the Patriot Act on, if the government was really concerned about you, they know where you are.
Well, there was a big hub-to-do in the news recently because there was tax legislation that was going to make you or make banks report every transaction over $600.
Correct.
Now? Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that's been taken off the table, I'm told. Is that
Yeah.
right? How would we know anyways? How would we really know, right?
It's one phone call away anyway. You either make your peace with it or you go live in a cave. And as a realtor for you,
Yeah.
sometimes, do you have any caves available?
No.
No, I'm looking down the road.
Have you been to McKees Rocks? I'm kidding.
I'm glad you said
kidding. I'm kidding.
that.
I'm absolutely kidding. Somewhat.
I've been to the Roxy Inn, and I had a wonderful time, and I've on occasion been known
Roxy
to
Inn's
hang
all
out.
right.
Been known to hang out at Donnie's place, Hollywood Music.
Are you? Do you remember the Emerald Room
No,
before it was the Roxy?
no.
Ooh, I think it was the Emerald Room.
I remember there was a strip bar down there.
A little sketchy.
I had. That was my first introduction to
Little
McKees
sketchy.
Rocks.
The strip club.
No, I had worked. I had come
Mancini's,
to
old
Pittsburgh,
Mancini's Lounge.
and I was here. I knew nobody, and a couple of the guys from work where I had just literally like a week. Come on, we're gonna show. Come on, we'll
To
show you
DV
the
people.
town. And we went to McKees Rocks, and we went into a strip club, and I just remember thinking, I don't know if I need to take this job, man. This is okay. I mean, I'm fine, and I've lived sketchy existences in my past. South side of Chicago, Cabrini, that kind of
that'll
stuff.
do it.
But I'm looking around going, okay, this is what these guys are showing me. Literally, this is my tour of hanging out in Pittsburgh. Thankfully, Sean McDowell
Yeah.
kind of took me aside and said, no, here's where you need to go. And he laid
Oh,
me
he's
straight.
Mr. Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
He's a walking directory of
But
all the good places, I'm told.
Strip bars were always depressing anyway, but there was
Oh,
something about this one going,
Yeah.
I'm going to get stabbed.
Yeah. When you see carpeting on the wall, it's generally not a good sign.
Yeah, that's covering some sort of really horrible stain.
Speaking of strip clubs, you'll find this hysterical.
They're so sad.
I don't have. I know. Well, okay. In that theme, I don't have a good history of going there. It wasn't my bag. However, I got dragged to one here in my hometown, right down the street from our studio.
All right.
Late 80s. First time I was really ever in one.
Big hair.
Oh yeah. Well, I go into this place and it was a really beat up, rundown. It wasn't even called a strip club. It was called a go-go lounge.
Okay, gentleman's club kind of vibe. A lot of crushed velvet.
You walked in and you asked for, what do you have? And I said, I'd like to get a so-and-so. And we only have one beer and it's Genesee Creamo. Okay.
All right.
Do I have any hard liquor? No, we do not.
No,
so
we
it
do
was
not.
Genesee
Don't
Creamo.
have a license for that.
So I'm standing against the carpeted wall in there, kind of like looking through the smoke. It's the 80s. Looking through the smoke-filled room.
Sure, 1.5 feet.
And one of my high school teachers shows up on the...
Oh, God, it was like freeze frame by Jay Giles, but I bet it was way worse because you didn't sit next to her in geometry. She taught you geometry.
It was so bad. And to make matters worse, you can't make this shit up. I wanted to crawl into the carpeting on the wall.
Oh, absolutely.
And she proceeded to crush a beer can with her thighs.
All right.
I remember.
At least she gave you a show.
She's got skills.
Had she taught with that skill set, maybe you would have learned more. And I think that's a pretty good demonstration that educators are underfeverything.
Yeah,
that's what I take for those two things.
Look where some of them end up at.
There you go.
So that kind of ruined it for me. From everything from that point on.
Dude, they're gross and depressing.
I just don't get the whole concept of them in that, and now it's a thing for couples to go. Like couples, they go. And it's
a couple of really sad people.
Okay, so it's their thing, but to me, it's like looking at it practically or looking at it pragmatically as a business transaction, as I typically do. It's not a good business transaction. You go and you hand money to someone to then get you all worked up that you go home. It's not a good business transaction.
It's a libido casino. That's what it is. You walk in and it's all about your libido and you hand a total stranger a lot of wadded up money from your pocket that looks like you won in a crap game, and you leave with nothing. Yeah. The nice strip clubs like casinos, they'll give you a visor or something on your way out,
A free mug.
I got fleeced at Tawny's Casino and Truck Spa.
And Truck Spa?
Sure. That way...
Is that showers?
You got to have the word spa because that means legally they can put the drains in the floor and it's just easier to hose everything down. It's a code thing in Florida especially. What? I think this interview's really taken off.
Oh, man. This is exactly what I wanted, Ed.
Okay.
This is exactly what I wanted.
Me just yammering right on there.
No.
That's how I make a living.
Last time we had an excellent time, I thought, and the show was great.
Okay, I want to say something.
Stream of consciousness.
Last time was like 3 hours. I'm not doing that again. I'm union. When I walked in the door, I'm billing 5 hours, but I'll tell you, there's going to be a lunch break somewhere with it. I remember last time we walked out and I'm like,
stream of consciousness.
Holy crap, it's dark. It's 3 hours of my life I'll never get back, and all I'll remember are the flashing blinky lights torching my retinas.
I'm still no sponsors, man. I'm still doing it completely independent, man.
Well, it's not going to be a strip club sponsorship that steps up, is it?
Although you just opened up
was that close.
I think we have the crazy lights that might play into that whole thing.
That beam looks strong enough to have somebody swing from.
That's the fake shit pipe.
Wow.
You know what? And I actually had a guy come in and say, "Hey, those are toilet flanges on the ends holding that up." Right? And I go, it's not really a pipe. It's kind of like it's just decoration.
Well, you get it reinforced. You gotta. I won't do any more interviews here. Certainly wouldn't even come in and sit on a seat. But, dude, how can I not be weirded out stream of consciousness? I've bitched about this before. All of the blinking stuff.
Yeah.
There's
not much on the table.
I might as well stick a fork in a light socket as far as what this stuff does to my brain.
Okay, so I want you to know that when we first opened the studio, I had Edison bulbs here, and because the current was not real solid in this old building,
Right.
they would kind of like waver in their strength and drive you insane.
I already got that going on. I'm fine.
Okay, well, I just replaced all those bulbs with something more static, so it's not quite as bad.
Dude, it's still a carnival trailer. I mean, I geek out on the guitars big time. I'm still trying to figure a way to get that Parker.
I know, man.
But no, this is sensory overload. This fries my head,
So
and I think you find that funny.
If you had to work on the radio all day and this would drive you insane,
no way.
you wouldn't do it.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The idea of doing an actual thought out program.
That's not what we do
idea
here.
of doing a structured, laid out, properly prepped talk show. No chance.
All right, we're going to go to Teleform.
No chance.
Teleform, roughly around 18 months into this gig here, your latest gig.
Correct.
On BVP.
WBVP and WMBA and 99.3 presented by St. Barnabas and streaming live at beavercountyradio.com and available on the free app because just in case you aren't being tracked enough, Beaver County Radio is the app and you can listen all over the planet. My mom listens. I wasn't on.
I think that's cool.
I wasn't on one day last week. There was a special program from 9 to 10, so I
Right.
wasn't on. And at like 11 after 9, why aren't you at work? I get a text from my mother.
From a different state?
Yeah. It's like 600 miles away.
Why aren't you at work, son?
Why aren't you at work? It's like, oh, for God's sake. I had to take a picture of the studio to prove that I was there.
That's
I
a
thought
bit
back
much,
to the
Ed.
old times when you just not answer the phone when you were at your buddy's house.
What is the prevailing theme? Is it still politics that the bulk of the calls that come in, people still
No.
caustic about all that shit?
Yeah, well, that's up to me.
Yeah.
And what I mean,
Yeah,
and
but
that sounded so arrogant. What I mean by that is if I
encourage that.
I set the table with those topics.
Okay.
Yeah. Are people still mad? Yeah. Is it getting boring as all get out for everyone to poke someone with a stick just because you know that they're going to flinch? Yeah. You look for other things. You look for mental management possibilities.
A lot of the population's having a trouble finding something other than that. I mean,
Anger's addictive.
Okay.
Anger, for some people, it's addictive. For some people, the
Okay.
chemical in their brain.
Okay.
Rage is all the rage. And because of what we have available to us in terms of expressing our rage, again, to the entire planet, you get addicted to that. You go from being ticked off to thinking you're famous for being ticked off, and then the whole ego trip starts kicking in, and you're famous virtually, and you're famous in the ether, but
Are you really?
it's extra. Here's when you're famous. When somebody pays you enough money for you to buy all the guitars you want, you're probably famous.
Right.
But Andy Warhol said it quick. Well, he said it well for the time, but he missed it. Everybody's going to have 15 minutes of fame. That was before the internet. Everybody, if they want to, can have 30 seconds of fame. And the
Right.
vast majority of the people that are about it for fame rather than the performance craft,
Yeah.
rather, the difference between I want to be a rock star, no, I want to be a musician. Okay, it's a different thing. If your trip with any media, and now because of social media and because of the internet, you want to be media, well, congratulations, you're media, you got a phone. All right. If you happen to do something that people notice, ooh, I must be somebody.
Okay.
Every single time that a person, and I've known a bunch of them, and I bet you have too, every single time a person's motivation to create was about fame rather than the art, it ends poorly.
Right.
And with the internet, it ends incredibly quickly. And then you look up and you're like, well, crap, I don't even have the craft. I don't even have the thought of saying, I tried to do whatever it is. I tried to do that well.
Right.
I spent all my time saying, I got to try and do something to make everybody notice me.
Yeah. When that becomes the goal.
Well, the bar for shame
Good.
seems low.
Yeah.
And
How'd that happen?
Well, no. I kind of get it. If you don't feel shame, as a concept, you don't understand that. If you are all about look at me for the sake of look at me, not for the sake of look at me, I think I might have something interesting for us to have a conversation about. It ends poorly. That's the fun part to me is the conversation.
Right.
The notion of everybody knows and getting people wound up. Dude, it's almost impossible not to get people wound up now. That's not that used to in talk radio especially. That used to be a skill set.
Oh, really?
Oh, absolutely.
Before the web.
Oh, no, that was just like in sports radio before the web. You could do a sports show that was literally nothing other than you remembering numbers and dates and famous moments in history.
Got it.
Once that information became available
to everybody,
a sports talk show couldn't be that. It had to get into entertainment. Once everybody had access to claim that they were news, the actual news had to go one step up. Okay, well, now we've got to provide commentary. And now we've got to fill the space. And now we're just going to have people. And it's really simple. It's really simple. And I'll use the Pirates as an example. And I love the Pirates. I have dear friends that lifelong employees with the Pirates. You look at the Pirates like a fan. The people that own the Pirates look at the Pirates as a business. Okay?
Correct.
It's a different perspective.
No doubt.
With media, you think you're the media. It's got to go one up. Media goes one up and starts getting commentary. Then they it's like, when people pay attention to us the most? When we scream the loudest. And it's not about fair and balanced. Dude, the chroma key can tell you whatever they want to tell you. Media is not about black and white, and it's not about red and blue. Media is business. If I get more people paying attention to me because I throw a fit, my job's going to last longer by me throwing a fit. Now you'll get to the balancing point of saying, okay, you're just doing this for the sake of having people notice you. Now you've crossed the line. It's no longer about the craft. It's no longer about the dialogue or the rhetoric or the debate. It's now about, ooh, look at me. You've gone from craft to I'm not a musician anymore. I'm not, even if you're a failed musician, if you're trying to be a musician, you're trying to better your craft, learn new ways to do it. The minute you cross from craft to spectacle, John Lennon said it, how do you sleep? And the way that's justified for most people is they become really enamored with the notion of everybody knowing who they are.
Yes.
And then now that content versus spectacle thing. Media is about making money, dude. It's like any other business. And if I scream at you and more people watch that,
more cost.
And if I'm not willing to scream at you, if I go home every night and just bang my head against the wall, they'll find somebody that will be willing to scream at you.
We have generations, and I have plural, that have very short attention spans.
Right, which makes me incredibly relatable because of my attention span. Yes,
but I knew
blink, turn, what, this,
well,
yes, absolutely.
I really was hit in the face with that probably 14, 15 years ago at a Pirate game, as I and a handful of people sat there one afternoon or one early evening, and I took notice of what was happening between innings.
Okay,
and it was like there was a Kiss concert every half inning. Like there was lights, fire, music, things being shot into the audience, megaphones,
the
costume people running around. Like, and this is not like going up and getting nachos and a beer and walking back down and getting your scorecard and listening to the organist play.
Waiting for the beer guy to come by. No,
totally different thing going on now.
You just described the difference between content and spectacle. And the company or the business, if they're successful, will always adapt. An 8-year-old kid ain't going to sit and
Right.
double check his scorecard.
Right.
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 If the kids don't want to go, I'm not saying they're targeting kids, but the 70-year-old Pirates guy that used to drink with Blast somewhere in Green Tree doesn't care about which mascot won the race. But he also has less disposable income than the family with the 4-year-old kids that wants to see Pierogi Pete.
It's a business.
It's a business.
Yeah.
If you root for it as a fan, I understand it. But if I own a business and I'm in the black because of media contracts before I ever sell one ticket, I'm not particularly motivated to really bust my hump to sell a whole bunch of tickets. Would it be nice? Sure it would. But I will lose less on ticket sales than I would on paying way bigger prices for ball players to maybe get some tails in the seat.
That's what's destroying, I think, we'll go there. I think destroying Major League Baseball, that sport in particular, is the fact that the gate, I don't think, matters much anymore to the health of the financial success.
None of them do.
Even
financially, black and white, none of them do. There's the whole propaganda fandom side of it. But what's that about? And I'm not slagging anybody. I'm just telling you the economic realities of what media is about. I want to believe that it's about when I sit in the stadium with my black and gold, and it is, and they love that you're there, and it makes a difference, and it's a wonderful thing. You disappearing has very little effect relative to a major corporate sponsor not buying that luxury suite. Period. And that's not yay or boo. That's numbers on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Look at the contracts. Again, media.
Delivering sports
I'm going to give you $1 billion to televise all your roller derby season. I'm thinking of the Cleveland Guardians. All your roller derby season. I'm going to give you $1 million. We'll take care of the cost, everything. Just sign the waiver. Here we go. As long as I can figure out a way to have somebody advertise and spend more than $1 million, yay. Mm-hmm. And if I can get more than that, then I'll get more than that. And these games, we have 162 games, and that means this many commercials, and that means cost per point. It's business.
It's math.
It's very simple math. It's harsh math because of the way we were brought up. America, pastoral, America's pastime, a father-son thing.
Absolutely.
Media tells you the truth all of the time. Walter Cronkite and these guys would never lie about it.
They wouldn't editorialize. What, in a no small manner, stopped the Vietnam War? Walter Cronkite coming back and saying, I went over there and that's bad. Okay? Mm-hmm. We've just... Think about the power of that compared to what goes on today. That was a big momentous moment.
Oh, absolutely it was. Yeah, a news commentator. See, you weren't even a commentator. They didn't use that word.
He was a newsman.
You were an anchor.
Oh, yeah.
You're an anchor. You're anchoring the American disposition with what you do. And when he did that, it was like, okay, the grown-ups, rather than those smelly hippies, the grown-ups that actually had some juice said, okay, if Walter says it's not so cool, maybe it's not so cool. Okay. The power's always been there, and it's always been used.
Okay.
But the subtlety, or some would say subtlety, some would say carpetbagging and hiding it, however you want to look at it. Subtlety doesn't work anymore.
No.
That's where the screaming comes in. That's where the screaming comes in.
But where do we go from here? What's the next? What's beyond screaming? What's the next visceral thing beyond screaming? I mean, if we've gone
beyond screaming. We're beyond screaming. We're punching each other in the face because somebody asked somebody to wear a piece of cloth on their face.
True.
Dude. We're beyond. We've had people get shot, and I'm not picking on the pandemic. If it wasn't for this,
something else,
we'll find something else.
Right.
Right. But the media, as I looked at it as a kid, that media doesn't exist. And that's not to celebrate, and that's not to mourn. That's to recognize it's not the same thing. now. It's not the same thing when a radio station stops being owned by radio people and starts being owned by a hedge fund company. Mm-hmm. And it's not the same thing when 500 radio stations all play the exact same music at the exact same minute because the list came from one place where their corporate headquarters is. I'm not saying boo or yay.
It's just different.
Recognize the power.
Right on.
All right? It's not, and to still be a part of that, dude, to still have a chance to look around and be in the middle of that while you're watching this go on. And before we started, I was talking to my daughter. My daughter, I had to understand, or I had to get up to speed with a lot of this because I was in and managed to stay in the media. Yeah. My daughter grew up with this, and talking to her, like, oh, okay, I get it. It's like Steve Martin in The Jerk. Oh, it's the money. It's a money thing, money deal. And number of plays and the stuff that people are going through with platforms right now as far as content creators. Dude, aren't we all content creators?
In some form or another, yeah.
When I get up in the morning, I'm creating content, whether other people see it or not.
Right.
But with that, she was complaining. She did something, and she's like, this many people noticed it, and it was this much, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's the record companies of the 70s. You're going to get as little from the platforms as they can get away with giving you because they can. Black and white business. You know, and for me to be somewhere where I'm still allowed, first off, to be somewhere where if I've got a question, I can find my boss, and my boss is actually in the building.
Yeah, that's a rarity.
That's incredibly rare.
Yeah.
But I've figured it out well past.
That's a better way.
My expiration date. Well, no, that's the only way. You're communicating. How do you communicate with 35 emails?
I don't know.
If there's going to be an immediacy and there's going to be an emotional connection, whether it's positive or negative, right, there has to be back and forth dialogue. There has to be. Mechanically and societally, in terms of, you know, logistics, where am I supposed to be at what time? These are cool. I'll make my list before I go grocery shopping.
Right. As a tool.
This is easier for some people to communicate with than in person.
Yeah.
But
we lose so much.
It's really interesting watching carbon-based sentient beings trying to sort out what to do with the silicon-based sentient beings that are on their tail going, dude, we're coming. That's really interesting, and I'm right because of my job. I'm right in the middle of that, dude. I got a text. Yes, I'm going to go look at the guitar. I saw a guitar, and I haven't, and you know this, you see lots of guitars, and you're like, oh, that's cool. But every once in a while, you'll see one and go, I need to go look at that one.
Right on.
I just saw
story
one.
Of my life,
I
man.
saw one, again, on the internet as a consumer.
It's dangerous, Ed.
I know.
Very dangerous.
No, it's from, I'm going to drive tomorrow down to the south side and take a look at
good
it.
for
Yeah,
you.
No. Ordering crap off Amazon.
Hey, online guitar sales may earn me a nice living. Trust me.
Well, then that makes you part of the problem, doesn't it?
It was funny. All the brick and mortar stores were not happy with me when I hit. Trust me, it was not real cool.
If it's, again, technology and removing ourselves from human interaction versus virtual interaction, it's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
If I got to order a ridiculous amount of cat litter, I have no problem ordering it online. If it's something that's going to be creative, a guitar,
right?
I'm not. You can send me pictures of the exact one until you feel it. If it's that, if it's paint brushes, if it's anything to do with your hobby, I can read all the reviews I want, but before I pull the trigger on something that is meant to help me express, it's real tough to look at a picture and go, well, the reviews say it's nice.
I almost didn't do that business because I was told by so many people that to sell a guitar to a musician on the internet is an anomaly. musicians got to go feel
it,
play
right.
it. They got to have a warranty to bring it back in a couple of weeks. If it doesn't jive with them, you'll never make a go of it. And I didn't think I was going to make a go of it, but it just worked. And I realized the following. A lot of my customers initially were a generation below me, where
they didn't have any other options. That was the way they were going to get a guitar in the house.
Either that, or they couldn't. They could not find the kind of.
They're in the middle of a cornfield somewhere anyway.
It could be,
right?
But I think that they were more acclimated to the web quicker than my generation.
They were more comfortable with the notion.
I think so, and I also noticed too that guitarists from generation to generation look at the instrument differently as a whole, aggregately. And I think that the romance with the instrument that we had, and maybe the generation before us had, was ebbing away. It became more of just a tool to express themselves.
You know what? I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing.
Like, why would you say that? Why do you feel that way?
Because it bugs me that there are people that will pay $1 million for anything and then not use it.
Oh, and stare at it.
And put it in a glass box.
Yeah.
Now, if it's a painting, okay, you are using it. You're enjoying looking at the painting. But if it's something meant to do something,
got it.
It should do something.
Yeah, I struggle with that.
I see people buy a car.
Oh yeah.
And it's a $4 million car. It's like, why don't you can't drive it?
It's a conversation piece for parties.
No,
that's basically what it is.
God's way of saying you got too much money and you hadn't seen the Viagra on your Facebook feed, so you need that Jag convertible. That's what it is. Let's go ahead and clarify it. My life's crap, but I got way more money than I'll ever need. Why, look. I do want a $70,000 guitar. I don't even know how to play, but it'll look nice over there.
I cannot tell you the amount of guitars that I sold to people that had no idea. They just wanted
that's all right.
Expensive I made a ton of money off of collectors. I don't get it. I didn't get it either, but I was okay with it.
Yeah, it's like, all right,
it's commerce.
It's like, hey, man, if I'm selling it and you're giving me the amount I want,
well, that's when That's when I realized that Americans, and this was in the early 2000s, people wanted custom stuff. Not just people with money. I made custom pieces at a lower price point and hit that sweet spot. Because if you gave a kid an opportunity to get something unique
that his buddy couldn't get,
oh man, exactly right. The Americans had that individualism thing. They want to brag to their neighbor about their shit. I realized that.
You don't have this. I have this.
You got to tap into that. But it's so funny. We say that. But isn't it interesting that individualism does not translate to all this groupthink we see? Everybody's running to join a team. Like, you want to be associated with this team, left, right, upside down, pro-guns, anti-gun, anti-abortion. If you take a look at all these issues, they want to join a team. So they're not really exuding a lot of individualism, Ed, in regards to their thought. Maybe their acquisitions.
You feel better about what you think, and you feel better about your own inadequacies if you surround yourself with other people that think like you and share the same inadequacies. And now you've hit a different Vonnegut short story, Wampeters, Foma, and Granfalloons. These clubs that we join. It's no different. Back in the day, I joined I'm not picking on anybody. I joined the Water Buffaloes, or I joined the Kiwanis, or I joined whatever,
Was
right?
that Fred Flintstone, Water Buffaloes?
Yes.
The Elks, the Moose, and the Water Buffaloes.
And the Water Buffalo. I joined the Kiwanis, I joined this, or I joined that.
Oh, shit.
We're comfortable in groups of people that are like-minded. But you don't have to go out again, virtually, technology. You don't have to go out and join the Water Buffalo anymore. You can virtually join the Water Buffalo. Then went one step further, and it went from, I don't necessarily need to have everything in common with all these other people. As long as I have one thing that we're both pissed off about, then we'll hang with that. There's a little subgroup. As the number of people in your group goes down, the passion and the number of people that stay, the passion goes up, and you get more fired up. And now you're back to being addicted to rage. And I just described politics.
You certainly did.
Yeah.
But that does go against this whole spirit of like individualism, right?
Right. So?
But you have to be sophisticated enough to see it.
Are you a communist?
I don't know. I mean, well, no. I mean, to me, Well, that, you know what? The irony of that is not lost on me.
Mm-hmm.
We show, not everybody, but a lot of the population shows a stark loyalty to the political party.
No, we all do.
Their political party.
We all
stark
do it.
Loyalty.
Well,
but that's not American.
No, we show stark loyalty to whatever we choose to show stark loyalty about.
Correct.
Yeah, specifically with politics, that's just what it's been. Dude, you and I get fed what we pay attention to.
Right.
That's what we're constantly fed.
Right on.
Again, going back to the media and ratings and just the business of it.
Yeah.
You're going to get fed what you keep reacting to. Period.
So let's talk about that for a second. Would you agree that there really isn't...
That'd be a bad time to bring up. I just got a new TikTok account. It's the pictures of my cats.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is it... There's no pure news service anymore. Like you can't look to
there
Reuters.
Really wasn't
or
before, but it's not. And people don't even try. You saying, well, AP was a pure news service. There was still an editorial process going on.
Yeah.
Somebody somewhere was deciding that story goes in.
Well, most
story
of
doesn't go
correct
in.
me if I'm wrong though. Even though it's decades prior,
Right.
Is it safe to assume that most major newspapers in the country, their editorial boards were leaning liberal for most of the major newspapers going back
for the major market newspapers? Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay. New York, Chicago, Miami,
L.A.,
anything West Coast,
San Fran.
Yeah.
Okay, so but it would see that even that an editorial board all of a sudden to me politicizes the brand. Like if there's an editorial board for the Wall Street Journal and they're coming out with conservative pieces constantly,
right?
That labels then the Journal as a conservative newspaper to me.
Uh-huh.
And I would say the same with the New York Times. Like a lot of conservatives won't read the New York Times because they're so biased.
They don't care what you outside of the marketing part of it. They don't care. Nobody cares what you're labeled. Don't call me. Call me what you want, but don't call me late for supper. If people are paying attention to it, that's it. If labeling it makes more people pay attention to it, that's what imaging is in radio.
So there is no way to create an impartial quote unquote news service today, right? If you wanted to do it,
because
if you set out to do it, could you do it?
No, completely, utterly, no. And here's why. And it goes far more simple than media or TV. Are human beings completely unbiased about everything?
No.
There you go.
No, it's impossible.
Unless you want the computers to run it.
Right.
No, they're not. And that goes back to the AP and the UPI and Reuters, things like that. There's still someone there, somewhere, probably talking like Robbie the Robot, deciding this story, we don't have room for this story. There's always been an editing process,
right? No
matter what. And now, instead of it being shameful that you're coming from one side, now it's a source of pride. Now you're back. What's the fancy word? Right. You're catering to your group.
Audience,
and both sides do it. Human beings involved in it means there's crap on all sides. That's just.
Wouldn't it be interesting if just Fox, just taking the two heavyweights, Fox and CNN would just do the, wouldn't it be interesting if they would just do the obvious and say.
If they had a baby and did a sitcom. And Seth MacFarlane and a dude from Proud Boys co-wrote it. What?
Fucking great. No, I'm saying it would be interesting if Fox would just say the conservative news channel and CNN would say the liberal news channel.
Why?
Now, if they would just identify themselves for what they are.
You identify yourselves for what you are within 10 seconds of being heard.
No, but I'm saying, wouldn't it be fascinating if they would use it as their moniker? Like, if they would embrace it.
Why?
I don't know. I mean, it'd be
why
simpler.
Point out you're one-sided if everybody already knows you're one-sided, and it might be somebody else's picture of your prom date. Your picture of your prom date. You looking at CNN, you think they're great. Well, now CNN comes up with this new logo, and it says we're liberal as all get out about everything. Now you look at it and go, ooh, yeah, the light's different. That means I'm not open-minded. Nobody likes to be told or demonstrated that they're not open-minded. When you start buying into blatant badges like that, there might be some people that just out of guilt go, well, I believed everything you said, but I refuse to say I'm liberal about everything. So why go to the trouble?
I get it. I get it. So leaving the ambiguity there.
I want you to listen to me.
Gives them an out.
I want you to watch my show if you love me, but I want you to watch my show if you hate me.
Well, don't you think that's how Limbaugh made it?
No, that's how a lot of people make it.
Limbaugh made it because how much of the
hate listening?
There's no question.
Hate listening.
No question, man.
I don't care, and I can name a couple people in this market that are brilliant at it, as good as anybody. All right. I again, at some point, I'd have to go home and think, okay, man, I'm making people hate my guts for a job. What am I doing? But if you hate me, you're going to tune in to yell at the radio much more often than if you like me, and you're going to tune in. Oh, I wonder what my friend is saying today. Of course. It's an easy path to walk down, but I want both sides.
Yeah,
I want both sides to pay attention.
I get that. I get that. I guess I'm. It just seems so like it's
callous and shallow.
So blatant. Like last night in preparation of the show, I literally said, okay, I'm going to go to CNN, half screen, big monitor, half screen CNN front page, half screen Fox. And the other ones are insignificant to me. They're out there.
Right.
There's a lot more liberal.
C-SPAN 12. Come on.
Yeah.
Man.
I mean, like MSNB something.
The Ocho.
I'm just saying these two had 3 similar stories on the front page.
Yeah.
But all worded and slanted but it's not listed as analysis or editorial. It's listed as the hard news with no. I mean, it's insanity. We're not in a.
Then don't believe it. Then do what you did. Then convince people to do what you did.
But I do it all the time. It's just but you have to.
Okay, but at some point, have you not recognized there's going to be some people that they don't care? They're going to believe what they're going to believe in the end.
Well, they like living in an echo chamber. They're comfortable living in an echo chamber.
Well, that's okay. Then let them live their lives. Why waste your energy trying to convert an unconvertible person, whatever it is, if you logically say, okay, if they tell you, I'm never, ever going to whatever, and why would you waste your energy trying to convince them of doing something when they're never going to do it? And in that process, you're wasting your energy. It could be used on something in your life positively.
Agreed. So you're saying the effort to even try to put together a news source that can be viewed unbiasedly is a waste of...
No, I'm not saying that. No, I'm saying you got to find something. Here's the deal. It costs millions of dollars to do. Here's the second deal. If I give you millions of dollars to put together a news program, before long, I'm really going to think I need to have a little bit of input on what news you cover. Yeah. You remember Wayne's World?
Yeah.
What's the first thing that happened when the show got sponsored by Noah's Arcade? Noah wanted to do his own commercials, right?
Right.
Okay. And I just described lobbying and political contributions and everything else. If I give you a whole bunch of money...
Well, that's why I think... I want sponsors on this show. I don't want to be told what I have to say or can't say.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be that way, but if they throw enough money at you, it can become that way. Okay, some Middle Eastern sheik just bought Newcastle United, English soccer team. You don't think the sheik's going to look around and go, I can't help but notice in the north of England up here, your squad doesn't have a whole lot of Middle Eastern origin professional footballers.
Yeah.
You know, that's part of the business too. And to try and figure out where the line is between keeping your dignity and keeping a roof over your head. Yeah. There's something to be said. It's demented, but there's something to be said for people that just straight up go, you know what? This is about money. This pays, I'm doing this, whether it's being a raving lunatic liberal or a raving lunatic conservative. If they find a shtick and they're cool with it's about the cash, then it's about the cash. That's why I've been so stupidly lucky. I don't hear anything from
Right on.
my bosses about, hey, this.
Right on.
What's your point?
Right on.
But I also make sure if I say something, I can explain my point with facts.
Absolutely. It all feels
Unless
like a
it's
big
a Halloween candy argument, then it's purely from the heart.
Peeps.
What? Halloween Peeps.
I hate this fucking
Those
thing.
two words right there being in the same sentence is everything that's wrong with this country. Man, what happened to America? Halloween Peeps, man.
I probably would agree with you.
Yeah, we figured out for Medicare, everybody got to go to school free and we lived forever. And somebody said Halloween Peeps, and it just, as it should. Halloween Peeps, I'm sure in at least one of the translations is mentioned in Revelation.
That is so great. That is so great, man.
Those are so gross, dude.
They are. Well, they're even grosser when you microwave them.
No, I've heard that. They're gross regardless. Don't tell me a different way to cook a possum and say it's better than possum. All right, gross is gross.
Rogue. Okay. All right. Right turn.
Yes, sir.
Cancel
Every which
culture.
way but loose.
Cancel culture.
Yeah.
Okay. Number one.
You're hurting my feelings with the question.
Does it exist?
Yeah, sure it does.
Okay. We'll talk about that.
Sure it does.
'Cause there are deniers of that.
But the people that say it don't exist, well, go ahead.
Okay. And the other question is,
how do magnets work?
how do you think this started? What drove us to the point we are right now? And do you see anyone, maybe outside of Chappelle or Rogan or somebody out there who's actually...
we're talking about cancel culture in media and comedy?
Yes.
Because that's different.
Oh, is that? Well, let's talk about the differences. But it's people that can stand up to it. People, celebrities who can stand up to it, that will stand up to it and actually take the bullets, and will we eventually see an ebb of this?
You just described the same people I was talking about doing news. The people that say, I don't care what you think, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. It's the same thing. You know how you can be cancel cultured? If you allow yourself to be cancel cultured. People say, well, that person did this and they lost their job. No, that's not cancel culture. Those are ramifications with your employer. Uh-huh. That's a completely different thing. That's always
if it's used as an excuse for why something bad happens to somebody, yeah, that's almost cancel culture in reverse.
Here's what's up. If you spend your entire life never having to deal with anything unpleasant, at some point you're not going to have a choice and you're going to come unglued. Period. Okay. The end. Dennis Leary said it, and Bill Hicks said it first. But life sucks. Get a helmet. Surviving life, and that's the beauty of it. The ultimate joke, while we're talking about comedy, the ultimate joke is self-actualization. We are going to die, and we know it. So we better come up with some other good punchlines until we get to the close. That's what it is. Comedy. It shouldn't be necessarily offensive, but it should be allowed to be offensive. Otherwise, we lose sight of where that line of offense is.
Right.
And
100%.
movies,
100%.
And books, and there was a dude in Texas just sent a list out of 850 books that he wants to know, are these in the schools in Texas? How much did they cost? How many copies? 850 books. And it was any book that could basically make any student feel bad, whether consciously or subconsciously. 850 books.
How's that even measurable? How's that measurable?
No, it's not.
The theory of doing that.
It's posturing and it's pimping, and it's back to what we were talking about before. It's a dude that wants a gig and he knows that's his audience. Yeah, those books are bad. Dude, the book that caused me the most emotional damage in school was algebra. Remove that one. But you're going to get your feelings hurt.
That's part of life.
Yeah, it's part of life. You're going to history. Well, history shouldn't upset people. Well, history was written by the winners, and what that means is for every time there was a winner, there was a loser. Mm-hmm. And they were probably pretty upset. And if it's history, facts from the past, you got to have a conversation about, okay, they were a little upset. You know, that doesn't mean studying it is not the same thing as glorifying
Right.
it.
Well, that's the whole episode in regards to the statue thing and the flag thing. Like, I think that if there's a statue is celebratory, was created as celebratory for something that it has to do with slavery or something that had to do with an oppression of people, I don't think we should be celebrating. I'm okay with the we shouldn't be celebrating that.
A festival celebrates.
If it's a monument,
a statue commemorates an event.
Okay, so what am I looking for then?
Lots of bad events.
Yes,
should be commemorated so we don't forget
do it
about
again.
the bad
events.
I
guess I'm talking about celebratory.
You're talking
things.
about statues of brave men with big hats on tall horses. Yeah,
I think there's a line to be drawn, though.
I was born in Alabama,
right?
And even as a little kid, I remember looking at those statues, going, "Why would you put up a statue to a guy that lost?"
I know. I never understood it either. I never understood it either.
But I will also say this: if the biggest issue you have in life is a piece of granite in a park you never go to, you probably got some
other
time
shit
better
going on.
spent.
Yeah, there's no question, and I just don't. Are we that bored as a people that we have to look for this shit?
No, we're not that bored.
Isn't there enough going on?
We're that attention deficit, and we're that addicted to rage, and we're that lazy because it's much easier to go flip out about a statue than it is to study the economic effects of the package that they're talking about voting on right now.
Right.
It's much easier to be ticked off than it is to actually pay attention. That's why that book stuff really kind of sticks in my craw. That's where you learn that there's more than an exclamation point in life.
That's a good line.
Is it?
That's a real good line.
Yeah. For me, it's been a question mark and that emoji. And that's another thing. I don't have to communicate with you. You and I could have an entire quote unquote conversation and never type a word.
Yeah.
I could send you between memes and emojis. We're building this
it's
emotional
horrible.
buffer zone around us.
It's horrible.
And it's like, dude, if you can live your entire life like that, that's cool. But at some point you're going to have to come out. And that cancel culture stuff, if you're a creep, I want to know what you did. Okay, you're a creep. I'm not going to buy any more of your records. I'm not going. It's like I'll decide how I handle it to get everybody fired up to go after somebody, whether it's Dave Chappelle or whether it's Donald Trump
and
or
isn't
whoever
that very
it
dangerous
is.
to do that, though, man? I mean, it's so dangerous to throw stones, man. Especially.
Oh no, it's dangerous to throw stones, but socially, it's more dangerous because at some point, if you're the handicapper general from the book, if you're the person in charge of what is offensive and not offensive.
And who are these people anyway?
Well, that's the point I'm getting to. If you're in charge of that and I'm your number one, number two, and I agree with you about everything, and yeah, boy, and then you get to something and you find it offensive, but I don't. Well, wait a minute now. That's why entertainment. Now, here's where the line is drawn. Anything to do with violence. That's it. If my next door neighbor is convinced that the government's watching him, I don't want Facebook or the government to censor his post. I want to see the post so I know not to talk to that dude, right?
There's a value to that.
The crazy and the loony, and it's such a subjective term because what's crazy to you might be perfectly sane to me and vice versa. But whatever your definition, the crazy and the loony that's always been there is still there, but the planet knows about it rather than, the 2 or 3 neighbors, the Tom Waits song. What's he building in there? Now it's not just the neighbors hearing the circular saws. Now it's the planet seeing the circular saws because Facebook groups or whatever the account is.
Right.
We have all decided that since we're all able to be heard, we all, by God, should be heard. And the last thing I would want to hear is me every day. And that would apply to some other people that are in my life too.
Was it the right thing to do for these social media places to shut Trump down, to take his mouthpiece away?
I'm trying to think of what the specifics were.
No, I think that they...
Was he inciting violence?
Was he?
Dude, I tell you, if
I
you've
don't
got
know.
a kid...
I don't know.
If you've got a kid, I don't remember what they were. If you've got a kid that doesn't know what they want to do for a living and they're all about cash, tell them to be a media lawyer. Be a lawyer specializing in communication law, because questions are having to be asked that have never had to be asked before. No doubt. But legally, they had every right to do that because
they're private organizations.
You go and see that's what's amazing right now. That stuff is getting sorted out. That is a whole lot of power for very few people to have.
Amen.
And it goes back to the censorship, if I agree with you up to one point. The people, by and large, that run all the major dudes,
the media
like
houses,
Steely Dan,
yeah.
most of them happen to be on the opposite side of the group that is, they use the word weaponize rage. Weaponize implies just a heavier way to say what's always been done.
Right.
Weaponizing something is the same as marshaling support, just with a different tone, right? That's really interesting. Before it's done, major players are going to be broken up. I don't know if I'll see it in my lifetime, but again, these are laws that are going to have to be written.
It seems very bad. It seems very bad to me that these corporations, in terms of the media, are so ingrained in society and their communication tools that they can get together or independently shut half of the society's leaders down vocally.
Well, no. Wait a minute. Wait. It's not about it. When you agree to a platform, it's got nothing to do with what your gig is.
Like, what do you mean?
It doesn't matter to Twitter that Donald Trump is the president. It doesn't matter.
You don't think it mattered?
No. I think it mattered to the extent that what he said got more notoriety and became newsworthy. But when you sign on a platform, the first thing, do you agree to the terms and conditions yet? And you press your thumb, yes. For the few people that have read that entire scroll, here's what it says in layman's terms. We'll do what we want. You agree that we'll do what we want. And if you don't like it, you don't get to use the platform, and we'll change the rules at 100%. Any time, and we'll make sure we'll send you an update.
100%. But I'm saying...
But that's on us for buying into a system that's presented that way.
All I'm saying is it's interesting because of the social component of these entities, because they're so powerful and so ingrained in society.
Right.
You basically, and because private corporations are our mouthpiece for our politicians to reach us.
Yeah.
There's no government communication anywhere, right? There really isn't. Oh, government.org, if that was the mouthpiece for the politicians, that'd be different. It's not.
It's one of a million other places people get what they think is their information.
Yes.
And we get confused.
They shut the president of the United States down.
Dude, the gig don't matter. The gig don't matter.
Okay, so if it doesn't matter, look at the optics. Let me ask you this. Look at the optics of that, though. The optics are half the society thinks that their political leader was muzzled by corporations for the political benefit of the other side.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out a simple way to...
They're powerful companies.
Should your gig make you above the law?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Your job title does not allow you, at least, in the happy little fluffy world in my head, what your gig is not relevant to repercussions for your behavior.
So last I checked, he wasn't, I don't think, he wasn't charged with inciting violence.
That's a whole different thing. You're talking about trying to cross-reference
What was the reason?
Conditions
What was the
agreement.
reason Trump was muzzled? I guess my point is, you have three corporations that control most of the communication in the country.
Right.
They made a conscious decision, either independent of themselves or together
Well,
in
but
a
now you're
cabal.
getting conspiratorial with it too, which I'm not going to argue about. I'm just pointing out.
Let's say, for sake of argument, that it was all independent decisions. Like Facebook did their thing, Twitter did their thing, and whatever other. They made a decision that this is dangerous rhetoric, and no matter regardless of his position, we're going to take him offline. The implications of that, when the immediate comparisons can be made out there, that there are some very radical terrorism groups across the world that still have their mouthpieces on these organizations.
But are they being radical with threats of violence
every day?
Are they? Unplug them too.
Every day,
Unplug
threatening to
them too.
kill Americans in every possible way. Again, maybe their reach is, maybe it's all words and they don't have the reach.
That's where the definition of what this means and that means, and it's. I mean, dude, I'm right in the middle of it, and it's never not amazing to watch.
I just think it was a strange dichotomy to see Al Qaeda's Twitter page every day talking about the death to America and all this, and then the president of the United States was eliminated off of the same site, but the Al Qaeda
he's got his new thing coming though.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
What's it called?
Truth. And
I'm sorry.
and before we go any further with it,
that is funny.
Before we go any further with it, when you first off, an unpublic version of it was made and it was hacked within 2 hours. And when you sign up, we talk about terms and conditions, right?
Yes. It's got to be the same verbiage, right?
No, it literally says you can't talk bad about Donald Trump or this platform. And you agreed to that before. So at least they're straight up with it. We're going to control what you think.
Yeah,
and
but then now that's going to become a right-wing only media spot.
It's not a media spot. It's a social media platform. There, right there. Social media and media, in most people's minds, are the same thing.
Right.
And that gives social media the same amount of credibility intellectually as
which is insane.
Regular media.
Which that is insane.
Well, it's less insane every day because the regular media is slanting more towards social media on a daily basis to try and make their nut.
Oh, man.
I'm not interested. If I work, and I'm not going to say any specific stations, I know of radio stations within the contiguous United States. It don't matter what you say on the radio.
Okay.
It matters how many people react to your Facebook post about the topic.
Interesting.
And we just learned 2 days ago that if your emoji was the angry one, that got the algorithm way more excited than if your emoji was the thumbs up, and that moved it to the top of the list, and that made more people see it and more people react. Every day. It's more, and it goes back to the same thing before. It's about money. It's about a salesperson walking into a client going, this radio show of crows, nobody listens to it, but he gets a crap ton of angry clicks on his Facebook feed. How about we put some ads there? Oh, okay.
So it's all meshing together then, really, in the end.
Or falling apart, depending on, half empty or half full. It's the world's end with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, and we're like halfway through the bar crawl.
You can't kill terrestrial radio, though. It won't go away.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, it's not what it was, but it's not. It doesn't. It hasn't. They've tried to kill it off for 20 years.
You want to kill terrestrial radio? Watch. Sirius, play this. XM, play this.
Yeah, but that came out in like what?
That's
97, 98, 99?
Every new car.
Yeah.
You can absolutely. And
hasn't killed it yet.
Right, because terrestrial radio is making the switch to multi-platform content providers.
Okay.
With the Facebook.
It's integrated all.
It hasn't killed radio because terrestrial radio has had to find and continues to find other revenue streams. Mm-hmm. You ain't going to make just enough money
Yeah.
selling 30-second spots.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no doubt about that. I mean,
Right.
I've seen that just with the stations in town, the big
Yeah.
music stations. Like I was close to one particular station in this town, the country station, Froggy, great personnel. And so I grew the guitar business up before the social media era alongside that company, and I watched them grow. And the amount of money and promotions and giveaways and all that stuff was pretty plentiful until
Boom.
social media came
Gone.
and everything got tight. Personnel was reduced. Office space was reduced. The amount of sponsorships, I mean, everything changed.
Yeah.
They got to get leaner.
It got leaner, and there were different revenue storms. It got leaner because other people were paying attention to that, and those ad dollars went to the people paying attention to that new thing. Have you heard of Facebook? Well, what's on Facebook?
Yeah.
And the terrestrial radio stations, overwhelmingly, that do still exist, aren't just radio stations. Radio stations, I said it earlier, and that's one of the reasons the place still exists. Beaver County Radio is AM 1230. It's AM 1460. It's 99.3 FM. It's streaming live on our website.
Right.
We have an app that you can listen all over the world. We have multiple station Facebook pages. All of that exists because it has to exist. And some stations have made the transition and done great with balance. Some stations, they don't care what's on the air because they still have a number of Facebook.
Got it.
Yeah.
What's frustrating, though, is like you mentioned earlier, a lot of these stations are having their entire day's worth of music pre-programmed and done in some
From
other
another
city,
state.
and it's like the local DJ thing is like
the job that I started. Everybody has a starter job. That job where you make so little money, you decide if you really want to do it. If it's about the craft or the ego, right?
Yeah.
Really good friend of mine was a music director for big time radio rock station in Cincy.
Okay.
WEBN.
Okay.
Big time.
All right.
And he said, there's nowhere to suck anymore. And what he meant by that, the argument more today than ever is, well, if there were good air talents, we'd hire them, but there's no good air talents. The job, my first radio job, has not been a radio job in probably the last 15 years. There's nobody in the building. Your first radio job is part-time. Your first radio job is overnights. There's no overnights in the building.
Got it.
There's one dude doing nights at a station, and that station happens to own another 150 stations, and he just goes in and records a generic show and sends it to all of those stations, and they give him a couple $1,000 per station for doing that, so he's a happy boy. But he just recorded 20. That's 20 jobs that don't exist.
Right.
That's a machine running it.
Right.
Yeah. And my friend said it perfectly, and I didn't understand it at the time, but he said, there's nowhere to suck anyway. There's nowhere to learn your craft outside of a major market. God bless Pittsburgh. You're not going to, the jobs that were there when I started weren't there. When I started, it was market 143. And there was never not somebody on the air. There was mornings, middays, afternoons, nights, overnights, and then the weekend people. And I mean, all of those jobs, none of those jobs exist. And I would be willing to bet at that station I'm thinking of, if anybody's live, maybe the morning show.
Wow.
And in a lot of stations, you don't need anybody. You flip a switch, and one of those networks provides all of the radio that you need. Yeah.
What I noticed too is even the couple DJs that are doing stuff live now, no one's really live. They're like 20 minutes ahead or an hour and ahead. They pre-tape all their breaks,
right?
Record all their breaks and put it out there.
They voice track it.
Very rarely are they live. Maybe once in a while, but very rarely.
Right.
That's not even the spirit of radio anymore.
No, that's boring as crap. And if I had to do that, Like, dude, that's like walking the high wire, but it's a giant marshmallow stapled to your butt. What's the point of trying to create and evoke if you can go back and record it?
Well, that's why you must love talk radio. Then you must love that. Then.
It's the difference between a studio record and a live record.
Ah,
that's it. Studio record, you can go back and re-record. You messed up that part. All right, re-record it. But live record.
Well, unless you Kiss.
Then never
mix the two together.
Yeah, there's never been
never
a bad
really
note.
live. Yeah, there's never really been a bad live record there, but then there's never really been a pure live record there.
And bands, the band XTC,
I remember
that was one of
their
phenomenal band. That was one of their problems. Well, and the fact that the lead singer was completely out of his mind. One of their issues was, and it's happened to a lot of bands, you start doing really cool stuff in the studio, and then you realize, how in God's name are we going to play this live with all of these overdubs and all of these, and actually be playing it? That's voice tracked radio. What are you doing?
Yeah.
It's it's like Mr. Microphone. You might as well drive around in a convertible in 1984.
All right, let me turn the tide to music here. I want to have ask you a couple questions about classic rock.
Yeah,
I don't even know what that fucking means anymore, to be honest with you.
It's a marketing.
It's a weird
title.
Yeah. Okay. So if you take a period of roughly the origin of what we consider to be popular rock and roll, hard rock, let's say the Stones, the Beatles, and the Who coming right out of the '60s thing, and then Hendrix and Sabbath coming a little later.
Okay.
And then taking it up to about 78-ish, where cocaine became the drug of choice, and everything got sped up a little bit. Like,
it got sped up and glossed over and squinty.
Yeah. And then disco came out of that, and new wave and everything else. Okay, if you take that period of time, classic album rock era, right?
Right.
And a lot of people, including myself, look at that era, the tones of it, the music, the vocals, all as a whole. It's special because it's really unique and different. A lot of interesting differences in there, but it was different.
No.
Do you feel that way?
No. The age when music means the most to you for most people, teen years, early teens through early 20s. The stuff that you dig at that point, and it's not stuff that magically appeared just to soothe you. It's the stuff that happened to be popular at that point.
Okay.
That's the stuff that you will always hold as special to your heart.
I get
because
that.
it's not objective. When you hear one of those songs,
it's guttural.
You think back to, I remember this at this party. I remember this guy. And there's the emotional attachment. It's one of the beautiful things about music. But the notion of my music was better than yours because it's mine. Well, all music is one of two things. It's either interesting or it's boring.
Okay, so what I was getting to was that era, though, I think was heavily laced with some of the biggest bands, some of the most prominent records in that era were definitely doused or drenched in alcohol, but primarily hallucinogenics and drugs.
Yeah.
From the Who to the Stones, Pink Floyd. Was that drug thing a huge component of why that early 70s sound what it was? You don't think?
No. Did Hank Williams sound the way he sounded because of all the amphetamines that killed him? Yeah. Overindulgence and tweaking your brain didn't start with Keith Moon. Jim Morrison was a drunk, dude. That's what they were aided by.
And really not that talented. I have never had the lights go out ever on this show.
We talk crap about Jim Morrison.
Well, you know what?
Your cameras, I think, are still on.
They're on battery power. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Okay. That's the first time ever.
That was an era that if you weren't signed to one of 5 or 6 labels,
we're good.
Radio stations never heard of you unless you were some weird kid that went to the weird record store and had a late night like college radio show. But there's always been, when you talk about popular radio, I really believe at best if you add up all the different new music on all the different formats, it's not half of the new music that's being created. It's just half of the new music that's being made available through mass marketing. That's one of the cool things about social media.
Okay.
If you're a band and nobody likes you and nobody will sign you, you no longer have the option of, or you don't have to give up and go get a grown-up job. You put your own record together, you get a cheap copy of Pro Tools and a laptop, make your own record. You don't have to rent.
You got a good point.
You don't have to rent a studio at $3,000 an hour, and you put it on the internet. And if the internet digs it, then you got your own deal. You'll sell your own T-shirts. You know, it's the digital version of when I was in school, going around and putting flyers up. Your band's playing at this bar on this night, taping them to telephone poles.
Just more efficient.
It's way, potentially infinitely more efficient. But then, see, that's one of the cool things. You don't gotta work, and it happens time and time again. There'll be somebody that does their own thing, makes their own record or writes their own comedy or whatever the creative thing is they do. They'll put it online. I promise you, if a big company sees a way to make $1, they'll come talk to you. You don't got to schlep tapes to them anymore.
Interesting.
They'll find you. If there's a way for you to make money with the product, somebody will say, hey, let me help you with that. You got 2 million followers on TikTok. How about if I send you a bunch of our new cool printed T-shirts?
And isn't that more organic and
far more
truthful than record companies choosing certain bands and then pushing those bands?
Yeah.
How much music did we miss out that just never got signed?
More than half. More than half. And that's exactly the word organic is exactly correct. You were thrown, because of the internet, you are in a position, if you're willing to do the work and you put it out there, and if it's something that people dig, you don't have to worry about getting upfront money for studio time from the A&R guy. You don't have to worry about going $100,000, $200,000 in debt to get people to maybe dig your record. That's the other side of it. To me, that's a wonderful side. The DIY thing. Mm-hmm. And there have been plenty of DIY people that are now making
no doubt
grown-up money because the grown-up businesses said, hey, look at this. These guys ain't nothing, and they got this much people.
And what's even more insidious, though, Ed, is the last 15 years, these 360 deals where if a record company does want to buy into you,
right,
they own you for life, practically. It's like unbelievable. They pretty much, you don't have any stream of income that they don't have a piece of.
Right.
I mean, that's horrific.
Uh-huh. And why would you sign your life away in perpetuity for stuff you haven't even done yet? When you say, man, I'm going to do a record, or I'm going to write it, and then I'm going to put it out, and there's the overhead is me answering my emails. Mm-hmm. And the overhead is, if people dig it enough, you go and get your total DIY thing.
So you love the organic nature of new music.
Yeah, well, no.
The delivery of maybe not the music itself. But
I love that it's more accessible if you're willing to do the work and go look for it.
Okay.
The difference between going to a chain record store and an independent record store. Chain record store is going to have the stuff that the major labels put out. Independent record store might have some weird. That's the internet. If you flip through long enough, you might find something that you really dig. The internet's the same way.
Okay,
now, the first 29 pages that you scroll through, rather than flip through the record, first 29 pages, maybe crap. Okay. But it's still out there for you to decide. Nobody decided it and then said, well, this is what we think you're going to dig. So
basically before 99 or maybe before 2005-ish, I guess everything before that was pretty much spoon-fed to the public.
Oh, yeah. Right? Oh, yeah. Absolutely it was. The record company, and dude, that's the way the business was. Mellencamp had a really good statement about it. They asked him, he got big enough where he actually started using his real last name, right? You remember what his first record was, right? John Cougar.
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
That's right.
He was John Cougar standing in a cornfield with a leather jacket. And they asked him, it's like, dude, what was you're a legend now. What was that about? And he goes, hey, man, if a record company said they wanted to sign me, they could call me whatever the hell they wanted.
Yeah.
That was the
that
only
was the
option.
ticket for him,
You want to play? Here's the rules. You don't have to play. Somebody else will play. Now, if you want to play, the audience, the viewers, the listeners, they get to decide it. It's far more organic, for better and worse. It can also be harsh as all get out.
I mean, whether one digs the music or not of the band Rush, if you learn a little bit about their story, you have to kind of admire that they basically told Mercury Records, I think it was Mercury, basically threw a big middle finger to them after the third record. Like, they gave them one more deal, and they said, okay, we want something with top 40, we want something, and they came back and gave them 21-12.
Yeah, it's like,
if we're going to tank, we're going to do it our way.
That's right. Temples of Syrinx, that's the single.
There's a single, it's a great story, though, of
Harry Chapin, the same deal. It's like, I'm not going to write a song that's 3 minutes long. It's not going to happen.
I don't think he could.
No. And that's what he did. And the people that dug that still found him.
Yeah.
Now, anybody that does something that the big company says isn't marketable, it might not be marketable to the big company. They might not be able to get their 6 or 7 figure cut out of it to justify hassling with it. But if you're a dude in your basement with, I almost said an old 4-track cassette recorder.
They're out there.
Well, if you're a dude in your basement with Pro Tools and maybe a reel-to-reel to create the analog, getting old Reeboks so there's something analog on the record.
To create the artificial hiss.
Yeah. It sounds too clean. Oh, okay. Well,
we have something for that.
Pull that plug halfway out there.
That's exactly right.
That's
crazy. It is. And
it removes the option of saying, man, we were good, no record company wanted to sign us, but we rocked. Well, now if you rock, record it.
Yeah.
Put it out.
Put up or shut up.
Yeah, production software is literally free. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. The light versions of it, you can get a digital 4-track that will work on your phone.
No doubt.
For $0.
Uh-huh.
All right? Now, and here's what happens, though. You get that $30 mic, and you say, I bet I'll sing in key if I got a $3,000 mic. Dude, sometimes it's the bow, sometimes it's the arrow. If you can't sing in key,
nobody's going to help you.
A Neumann U87 ain't going to hook you up. It's just going to give you the full spectrum of how out of key you are.
Some guy gave me this example when we were setting up the studio.
Auto-tune's the devil.
Oh, well, he goes, listen, man, you can get these Shure microphones. You can go buy a $49 mic at Radio Shack if they're still around. He said the bottom line is
these are RE20s? Or no, SM7Bs. RE20 is the Audio Technicas.
That's what I looked at. It was between those two. I chose this probably because of optics more than anything else. I like Shure products. They always serve me well in the guitar era.
Midget fetish. You don't hear that a lot.
What?
Nothing. The Electro Voice RE20, the long barrel one.
Oh, yeah. That's good stuff. I mean, and that's what I think BVP had a few of those down there. They one of these.
It's what I talk every day.
That's what you're using. RE20. Yeah, they're good broadcast mics.
We just went full geek for a second.
We did. They're good mics, though.
RE20, yeah. Now, it ain't a TLM 103, but, it's okay.
There's no tube in there.
I have a tube amp, so I'm quasi
There's some
cool.
Tube amps in here. Did you ever see those tube mics? They're expensive as shit.
Tube mics and ribbon mics. Tube mics.
The ribbon. Yeah.
Ribbons. You know about ribbon mics?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
And I guess there's nitnoids that can really hear the subtleties of all that stuff.
I noticed that ribbon mics get used a lot with symphony orchestras. You're picking up
subtleties.
Yeah, you're picking up. Dude, for me, I probably have a half a dozen mics at home. I sort of know what each one sounds like. I'll plug it in and go, do I like that or I A-B it? I like that better or that better? Okay. And that's it.
I have some 57s in the drawer over there, and I was using them originally. They were cheaper, and they sounded, I'll tell you what, for vocals, they were not bad.
No, 57s and 58s, the barrel one, right?
Yeah.
That's
and I couldn't tell a big difference between the two. The 58 a little brighter, I think, maybe.
And that's what I mic up my little tube amp with.
But I don't think the 57 sounded
These are standard, dude. Wait.
Yeah.
These are here. That's a lovely sound. This is the mic that is in the main production studio at BVP and NBA.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, that's what we've got in there. I just recognize.
Oh, it's a great mic, but
yeah.
the problem is it isn't like you just take a mic and plug it in the recorder and go. With these are dynamic, so you have to have the preamp attached. You have a cloud lifter.
Supply.
Yeah, it was an ordeal getting set up. It was worth it. The quality of the audio is great, but it's not like there's something to it.
I'm freaking out about this. What's this? That's a camera?
Yeah, that's a zoom camera.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I got you covered there, brother. That's a Zoom Q. That's 4K.
That's on my blind side. I just noticed it now for the first time. 4K.
It's not, though. It can
3K
shoot that.
wasn't enough.
1080p, right? Remember when 1080p was like this amazing thing? The first time I saw a 1080p television broadcast, early 2000s, my mind went like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like it was so real you could reach into the screen.
And they're disposable now. There's no. You talking about jobs that went away because of technology? Find me a TV repair store.
Good point.
They don't exist.
Good point.
First off, you can't repair them. Second, if you can find somebody to repair them, you can't. Yeah, you can't even throw them away. That's a hell of a product. You can't fix it and you can't pitch it, but you can go to the Wally World and get one just like it.
Isn't that something?
That's disposable product that was never disposable before technology.
That is so true.
Mm-hmm.
That is so true.
Mm-hmm.
Television's not even a big thing anymore in terms of like, you
it's the video and its streaming services.
Yeah, but even the act of sitting, I think, again, the pandemic side, but the act of like sitting and plopping down in front of the TV, a lot of people plop down in front of their phones or their tablets now.
They plop down and turn the TV on for background noise and sit and scroll through their phone.
Yeah. It's a different thing.
We've gotten to the point of our attention deficit. One stupid visual stimulus isn't enough.
No.
So you got TV, you got your phone, you might be playing a game on your phone while you're scrolling through.
Odds are likely.
Dude, you're part of the problem. How many things are going on in this room? It's the exact same stuff. We have the attention span of a gnat, of a sugar cranked 5-year-old.
This shit doesn't do anything for me. Like I'm not distracted by it. Even the lava lamps don't do anything for me. I don't know. I could minimalist.
Then why would you bring something in here that you don't dig?
I thought it would be cool. I don't know. Optically, I think on the camera, on the show, it doesn't look bad.
Just go with a wooden table and some wooden chairs. Go Amish with it and get rid of all this stuff. And then it's rustic, and PBS will run it on Saturday afternoons, dude. Know your audience.
I'll be doing like Antique World on here.
Yeah, right on.
Bring your antiques in. Well, I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I'll give you a good guess.
Whitland with Eric.
Whitland.
Oh dude. It's all about the visual. This is, I've done real well not to freak out up to this point, to be honest with you.
You missed the blinking lights, man. I'm glad they weren't still going on.
Well, the lights did go out right after we talked crap
it's
about
the first
Jim
time
Morrison.
Ever. Yeah, you know what? I talked about Jim Morrison being not that quite talented, and all of a sudden, poof.
I didn't say he couldn't sing. I just said he was a drunk.
Did you, going back to that era of music for a second, what bands did it for you? Early 70s, late 60s?
Dude, I was like 5.
So was I.
Okay.
So,
I'll tell you the bands I discovered. You know the Who.
We got them later. I get it, but
you know the Who, and you know the
Stones,
the Led Zeppelin, and the Stones and stuff. I remember REO Speedwagon, High Infidelity.
Oh, yeah.
I remember discovering Blue Valentine by Tom Waits.
Yeah.
I remember a lot of underground stuff. REM, back when you had no idea what Michael Stipe was actually saying. Murmur and stuff. The Mitch Easter produced stuff.
That's early.
That kind of stuff. The Kinks. As far as British Invasion, Kinks records were far more interesting to me than the Stones or the Who.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Sleepwalker
can you articulate why?
Clever.
Okay.
It wasn't just rock and roll. It wasn't just overindulgence. It wasn't just ranting against the man. It was all of those things. But it was also, there was a kind of a wink and a nudge with the lyrics too. I think Ray Davies, another completely crazy person.
Yeah, you think?
Lyrically, the Kinks were the most interesting band that era.
Yeah, very interesting.
The Kinks, and I used to listen to a lot of, you're talking about terrestrial radio, King Biscuit Flower Hour.
Oh, yeah.
And
Dr. Demento's
and Dr.
Demented Dementites.
It was always back to back. You get Dr. Demento. I think it was Demento first, but you Dr. Demento, and after that, if you stayed up late enough, King Biscuit Flower Hour.
Yeah.
And I discovered the Dire Straits when I found the first Dire Straits record.
Yeah, Salt in the Swing, that song changed my life. I didn't think that was even like guitar wise. It was the anti Jimmy Page.
Oh, right.
Right?
Yeah. You hear that and you're like, what's he doing? Because at the time, it's exactly right. It's squealing and wailing, and it's like, dude, there's no. Later on, there was some when he started bringing in the Les Paul a little bit more with the recordings.
Yeah, but that song was so clean.
It's like how?
And it's like, he can't flub a note in that song. I mean, you got
you
to articulate it. Yeah. You can't hide into that one.
That's Telegraph Road. Communique was the record. When you hear that stuff, that made me understand there was something besides just the linear note process, that there could be something textural above and below and
that song maybe
swelling in and out.
Made me also appreciate what my dad was listening to, which was like Roy Clark, and watching him do all that
Jerry Reed,
all that gymnastics going on there. There's a guy taking some of that gymnastics and putting it into like a rock song.
Yeah, no, Chet Atkins. Well, that's where Knopfler, after Dire Straits broke up, he spent years in Nashville, and if you listen to his solo stuff, there's a whole lot of folk in that. I mean, there's a lot of Gaelic too.
Oh, well, naturally.
Yeah, but that finger picking thing, he's why I can't play guitar with a pick. I can't play with a pick. I play bass with a thumb pick, which is also backwards as hell. But finger picking, the only kind of pick that I have ever been able to actually use, you know what an Alaska pick is?
Yes.
Put it in your finger.
Yep.
I can sit and do that, but I'm doing this
That's
stuff.
way more complex than a plectrum.
No, it's not, because as long as I'm close to what I'm doing up here, it really don't matter what's going on down here, and you're just basically, it's the same pattern. You're just up and down strings a little bit, and you figure out, well, that sounded better. I mean, I'm horrible at it, but I can sit and make it sound sort of like something,
as long as it's good for you, man.
Yeah,
in the end, that's all that matters. I mean, the tools are all there, but there still was the dexterity. There still was overcoming that. I think the way you apply your skill now in the learning process is a lot easier than it was. But that needle thing was a real thing.
But that puts that much more pressure on you to be better, because you've got less to overcome in trying to learn how to be decent.
I think so. Are you inspired at all by the YouTube stars and all? I mean, because it's amazing. You'll see some little kid in Cambodia that's playing better than Jimmy Page.
Yeah. You'll see these freaks of nature,
I love that, though.
And Dave Grohl will get them up on stage at a show if they show up.
Yeah.
There's always been prodigies. There's always going to be prodigies. We just know about them quicker, again, because of social media.
I think I might have mentioned this to you last show. I'm getting ready to go again in a couple of weeks to go see Al Di Meola here in Pittsburgh.
Tell him I'm sorry for what I put his guitar through.
The thing that I always crack me up about that is I'm sure he's made a good amount of money and he's had a good career. You know, in his genre, he's one of the top 4 or 5 dogs. Okay, so so I get it. But he didn't make Kiss money or Bon Jovi money or Led Zeppelin money or Foreigner money.
Yeah,
or
but he also didn't
money.
have to wear spandex pants and play ridiculously ugly guitars.
Correct.
He's a craft guy rather than a style
and
guy.
What's obviously really apparent to me, and it was years ago, is that the more complex one's music is directly related to generally their income. You're great players writing complex stuff and really putting so much into their craft. A lot of these incredible musicians don't reach the 3-chord anthems that an AC/DC does.
That's because they chose to follow their craft rather than their fame.
I salute it, but I just think it's kind of funny how we as a society don't compensate based upon based upon skill level.
Yeah.
We just don't. The
That's
simplicity of rock and roll is it.
That's the exact same thing that we were talking about with politics. For every one person that's willing to study the complex issue, there's 1,000 people that want the political version of CGD really, really loud, and it's playing to your crowd or your willingness to play to your crowd.
Yeah.
Do you want to be a rock star? Cool. Put on the giant lizard boots. Here's an ugly guitar. Go spit blood and throw fire on people, and people dig it. You want to be a musician? Okay, well, there's a bar stool. There's one microphone. Here, a little Fender Champ amp you can plug into that.
But why, as a species, are we more? I mean, like, why is there that disparity? Like, why is
what disparity?
In terms of audience size, why is the simplicity attract so much more? Like, why is that A chord to the ribs attracts a broader audience than the complexity of Al Di Meola doing?
Well, it's the difference between intellectual stimulation and emotional stimulation, one.
Okay.
And there's always going to be that. Some people are more motivated intellectually than they are emotionally. Other people are the exact opposite. You ever heard the term sapiosexual?
No.
Okay. Sapiosexual is somebody that is turned on by somebody being smart.
Huh.
Okay. It's a small number of people, but there's.
I never ran into those women.
Yeah. I wouldn't have known what words to use if I did. It's a different audience. It's not a better or worse audience, but it's the craft versus the show. It's the musicianship versus the rock star. It's the intricate, complex debate versus their side's bad.
Right on.
Their side is it.
Right on. Right on.
And more simply put, people are dumb all over and a little ugly on the side. Frank Zappa said it far better than I could, and I include myself in that statement.
Yeah, there's almost like
you're trying to want other people to better themselves like you wanted to better yourself.
But you can't.
Right.
Yeah, you can't. I should have given that shit up a long time ago.
Yeah.
Because that's not.
You don't understand why people aren't motivated and curious.
Curious, yeah. Motivation's a funny thing.
Well, curiosity requires motivation.
It does.
Particularly when you're surrounded by all the lights and phones and cameras. Seriously, to be curious, if you want to be curious, you have to actively remove yourself from the technology that surrounds you, because if you're just going to glaze over at the cartoon, that's not going to lead to curious, but it's real easy to sit there and do that.
So
it's us.
Is the populace getting dumber?
I think my pause would indicate my answer.
You were contemplating.
No,
I was giving you the benefit of the doubt.
The smart dumb people are the ones that don't have a clue but look like they're thinking.
Right. That's
no,
what I
don't think we're getting smarter or dumber. I think we're getting lazier. Yeah. Oh, sure.
Yeah.
But we're doing that ourselves.
Of course.
We've got, we're a jack of all trades and a master of none when it comes to entertaining ourselves. And the conflict comes from what is entertaining to you might not be entertaining to me. What you agree with and believe with all your heart, go America, might be the exact opposite of what I believe. And now, relatively, archaeologically speaking, in the blink of an eye, anywhere in the world, I can tell you're full of crap. And there's no real repercussions, the term keyboard muscles. And we get more paying attention to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird combination of things. You have to look harder for things to make you think harder. And you have to look past the things that are giving you an opportunity to think less.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
That takes effort.
It's a conscious effort every single day. When I go in to do a show, I would like nothing better than sit and talk about puppies for 3 hours. But
Would you really?
Oh, absolutely. But that's not what the gig is. You kind of make your peace with the people that are keeping you from being under a bridge. When the day comes, I'll just live under the bridge and talk about puppies. I'm saving that.
Does politics fascinate you? Or is it an annoyance to you?
Politics is
today, 2021. Today.
Politics is a staging ground for a really demented sociology experiment.
That never ends.
And seems to be going poorly. A second fire alarm has gone off in the lab.
The substitute teacher ran out of the classroom.
Substitute teacher, the one that was going to let you watch a film, and that you don't even get that. People are interesting. People are always interesting. It's the scene.
Is it all theater, Ed? Is it all fucking theater?
Oh God, yeah. Yeah.
I feel like sometimes it's all theater, and I'm just like this puppet that's kind of like not being pulled all the time, but like I'm just maneuvering in this fucking
bread and circuses, dude. Bread and circuses. Yeah, absolutely it is, and it works, and people pay attention to it,
or don't.
Or don't. We're back to when you're going to list that cave. My idea is, at the end of every day, if I look back and say, all right, if that's the day I get hit by a bus and God runs the video of my last day on earth, was it something that contributed, or was I a pain in the rear end?
Got it.
And most of the time, I feel like it contributed a little. And you can contribute, and that's the other thing. You don't have to be a world champ at something. You contribute by being at a grocery store and stopping before you run over somebody and wave them when they cross the street. We've lost the ability to recognize these benefits of the general politeness, general niceness. That doesn't count anymore unless you do something catastrophically wonderful or horrifically heinous. Most of the world's not even going to look at you. But it's never not been that way.
Right.
It's virtual looking at you, then they're going to go past it. It's very strange. I'm more curious about it every day, but I'm more dystopian in my thoughts every night. I bummed you out. I'm sorry.
No,
So I had this puppy. I mean, it's the most interesting thing in the world to me. If it wasn't interesting to me with my attention deficit, I wouldn't have done it for 30 whatever years. It's still interesting. Human beings, and that's what we're talking about. We're just talking about technological advances that allow us to communicate either well or more poorly with other human beings. That's the part that's interesting.
You know what I think is really valuable, but I don't think often we ingest it as being valuable in society, and that's talk radio. To me, I think it's valuable because it does give the ability to verbally give your opinion, to get away from the all data entry, all mind, the silence to the web, and the silent. It's a way to verbalize, and there's an organic nature to that we don't see in the keyboard. It's kind of like another version of what we're doing, not as organic as this, but I mean, it's if you take away talk radio, as frustrating as it can be, regardless of the genre or whatever.
Inflection means more than punctuation, man.
Yeah.
If it's done well, if the people involved in it aren't just screaming.
Yeah.
And again, that exists on all sides. There are talk hosts, all they do is scream. Do
they last? Well, Morton Downey Jr. lasts.
It depends on the shtick, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There are people that make their peace with selling outrage on both sides. If you're cool with that, I couldn't be.
Yeah, they have to sleep at night.
That's it. But again, that's that art versus commerce trip.
Right.
And you know people like this, and so do I. If you tell them they will make a ridiculous amount of money, but they've got to do something heinous, hey, that amount of money, I can buy whiskey to drink away the heinous. So,
which kind of could be applicable to just about any political seat there is right now, especially your larger ones.
Why would you...
Really? I mean,
why would you want to be in politics right now? Politics used to be about serving. I think you'd be doomed if you. I don't think you would make a blink on a radar screen if you were about helping people. The attention span and where we are.
It's all theater. It's all. Saying game is too easy. It's theater to me. It's theater, and it's presented in a way. It's a big, never-ending story.
Okay.
That's how I look at what we've been, is when the pandemic ebbs away, there'll be something else. They'll get our attention on something else. They do it in many
Well, they don't
forms.
know. You saying it wrong. You're saying they'll get our attention. No, we'll give them our attention.
Yeah.
They'll throw everything up in the wall, and whatever we flinch at, they'll throw more of that.
They'll run with it. Yeah.
And that's the business side of what it is. That's the business side of the world.
Yeah, and there probably there's some truth that it's always been that way, the mechanics of it.
Yeah.
But it's just so... I don't know at times anymore what is... Like, the merging of social and commerce is so deep now with like Instagram. Like every third thing on Instagram now is a commercial, is a sponsored. Everything is... It blends in. When you start to see people... in the social sphere, also pushing products, influencers. I mean, everybody is in their
God's name.
Everybody's in their own commerce world.
Right.
I think we're seeing like the convergence. There's no hard lines. Like NFL game, we're going to go to the commercial. Like now commercials are being seeped into the broadcasts. Like you see it all kind of being
societal product placement.
Yeah,
social product placement.
Yeah. In a big way now.
Yeah.
In a big way.
Well, but it's more difficult to get somebody's attention. Before, it would be subtle. It would be product placement in the sitcom on a shelf. There'd be a bottle of barbecue sauce, whatever. All right? We don't have the attention span to stare at the picture that long. It's got to be more in the forefront. Next season, barbecue sauce or cleaning fluid or whatever isn't on a back shot. It's in the camera shot. As it gets more blatant to continue to draw attention, it has to keep getting more blatant. And there's only so much blatant you can do without screaming in all capital letters and all exclamation points.
What's fascinating to me is like Rogan and some of the other very big podcasts, like there's a top 10. The way they run their ads is funny, man. They'll start the show and they'll do 2-3 minutes, and there'll be a pause, and then you'll hear the guest just say, "This episode of Joe Rogan sponsored by," and then for a minute and a half they'll riff, and they'll do 4 of those in a row. And the logic is everybody just scoots past that shit, right? I mean, like no one really sits and kind of listens like to forward. All of that, right? I mean, like, but I guess it's working because they keep paying the advertisers.
They can look at the analytics and tell if people listen through it or tell if people scrolled by it.
And there must be enough that are actually listening to it.
And that's absolutely sorted out. Another weirdly cool thing about the internet, this podcast. You can do what you want when you want. You want to sponsor it? Okay, you sponsor it. You want sponsors to each get 7-second mentions?
Yeah.
And if
it's
you
target
find people
audiences and all that nonsense.
And if you find people to pay for it, then it works. Yeah. You don't have a general sales manager.
Which is kind of cool. The
potential is cool.
Yes, the potential is cool.
Right.
But how do I say this? In the spirit of capitalism, in the spirit of free enterprise, there shouldn't be any rules of entry. You should be able to enter and do your thing, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, oh well.
Then it
give
doesn't
it a
work.
shot. But in that spirit, the entry is greater. There's so many people running in there.
So what?
No, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying it does create noise that we have to now adjust to because we're not used to that many entries.
No, we are used to that many different noise sources, the TV and the tablets and the phones and we are used to that. And what's good to us will always rise. We'll always notice it.
Oh yeah, regardless of how many entries, I agree. There are more entries now, which I internally can be fine. There is more noise though.
Yeah. Well, I had to go bathroom, but I'm back now.
Oh
well, did I sit there and get wound up, and I'm looking? I've been through 2 bottles of water, 2 bootleg Red Bulls.
It goes in, it got to come out, pal. So you can't wait another like better. 10 minutes.
I just lost like 8 pounds.
Oh God.
Yeah.
You can't wait another 10 months to come see me again.
Oh.
And I'm trying to get you and Chris Winter on the same show.
No, that's There's the restraining. There's a restraining order issue there, and.
I have to. I'm dying to get a 4th on that show, so I need you two to privately talk with me about who we want to bring on with us. I want a full house that day.
What do you mean a fourth from where?
I don't know.
Back when radio
maybe
didn't eat my soul?
Maybe.
You talking about a certain station?
Maybe. But I don't have the inroads to make that happen. You two may have the ability to do that. I had no one in mind. It's an open palette for me.
Okay. Well, Chris has been on with you before, right?
Oh, yeah. She's coming back. She's coming
back
back in a couple of weeks. Yeah. But I want the two of you on for an episode.
at the same time?
With a
to try and get us to talk crap about the people that won't show up?
Well, okay, so I don't know if you recognize, that's Freddie Koalo. Fred's been a stage. He wants to come on. I might just have Fred sit in with me, with you and Chris.
Yeah.
He because he's a rock and roller, a touring veteran, and he's a big fan of you and Chris. He really is. And he's like, well, I want you to, because I want to be on that show.
That's the intellect that'll get you to be a roadie. Yeah.
There you go, Fred. That's it. Now, he was career guitar tech, 20 years in. Zach Wild, Dave Mustaine.
For God's sake.
He's seen some shit.
Yeah.
But the whole rock and roll
thing. He actually knows how locking tuners work. I'll pick his brain.
Yeah, there you go. But he's worked for a TAE locally, so you probably might recognize the face when he comes in. But I think maybe I'll have him sit with us.
Probably hung out in more than a few of the same tunnels at arenas, things like that.
Yeah. And when he's off the road, he'll work in the stagehands union down there. So he's always at the arenas. He's always down there. But he was actually in for a podcast this morning, and he had to go to work. He's like, Eddie's coming on. I said, Fred, you can stay. He goes, I can't. I got to go to work. He was kind of bummed out because I was going to have him here today. Maybe I'll plop him in with you and Chris. That should be a great show.
Why does he care?
He just loves Pittsburgh radio, loves Pittsburgh music, rock music.
I mean, Chris, I get it. Chris is a wonderful person, a beautiful person. He
raves about you.
Does he?
Yeah. See, now I've put it out there.
All right.
Yeah. So I think that'd be a good time. If
I break a guitar, I can get free hookup.
There you go.
I don't play any of those lock and tuner things. My stuff's easy. String through the back.
He's a genius. Hey, if you can get Zach Wild to be happy and not bust the guitar off your head.
Yeah. No,
I mean,
if you're tweaking Zach.
And he knew Zach in the drunken Zach era.
the pre-straightened up. Yeah, if you're tweaking for that guy, you're not just putting strings on once every 3 or 4 shows. The
funny thing, then there was Mustaine, which he's no picnic either, and
dude,
it's just
that's their craft. It's supposed to be the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
anything less than that. Now you're thinking about something other than creating with the craft. It's got to be the way it's got to be, and if that means it's set up goofier than hell, that's how it's got to be.
Yeah.
And I get that. I get that.
Well, we'll do it. And I appreciate you giving me your time. It means a lot. Does mean a lot to me. I know this is the new media, right? Podcasting's the new media.
Dude, I'm digging the podcast thing.
You should do it.
Do it.
Why don't you do it? I think it's time for the Eddy Crow podcast.
Oh, I'd go with a different name first off.
Whatever you want to call it.
Crotopia.
Why not do that?
Crotopia. The world in my head.
That may be very dangerous.
But who cares?
How do you know? Like I said, you have a broadcasting background. I don't. I don't know why anybody would give a shit about this.
But I don't know why. These are the same conversations I have to my cats and my shoes when I'm at home. I can't imagine. And anything remotely that I even think is going to be interesting, I'm saving it for the paying gig, bro.
Well, that could be the extension. So you get a little bit of it out. We put all the basis out there, and then you have stuff to vent on. You go do that.
And I can call it, what's the term everybody uses? Uncensored or unfiltered, or allowed to say what they want. I
use the word unvarnished.
Unvarnished, yeah. Crotopia, drunker than a monkey.
So I don't drink. How does that work though? Are you? You wouldn't want to do anything actually to embarrass your employer. I get all of that. I get all that.
I do that every day from 9 till noon.
But
they're aware of that.
In terms of you just have to. Would you just need to use good judgment? Is that basically you just use good judgment? I would never do it. Was it because it's direct competition?
No, because every day I do it.
So after your
why would I do it a second time?
I don't know.
Name me an accountant that spends all day being an accountant and then goes home and does math for fun.
So you have no inclination to do your own gig, even once a week?
Dude, I got 2 cats and several guitars and a couple really overpriced bikes to feed.
You're busy, brother.
Yeah,
that's good for me, man. I'll just keep inviting you back on. You can do it here.
Okay. we got to go with the Amish table then, for real. No, seriously, when I get done, and when I get home after a show, and I get settle into life.
Yeah.
I don't watch any news.
They should.
I don't listen to any talk, anything.
That's interesting.
Ever.
That's interesting.
My ingestion of, the real world, before I go to bed, I'll scroll through and look and see what's up with stories. And all I'm doing that for is to figure out, can I use that tomorrow?
Right.
And when I get to work in the morning, the hour and a half before I go on, that's when I look. And because of the immediacy of the internet, really doesn't do me a ton of good to watch the 6 o'clock news, because the planet can change between 6 at night and the next morning.
I get that.
So the hour and a half before a show, it's like, all right, here's the overwhelming crap of reality.
Yeah.
Build a show. But when I go home, dude, I play video games on my phone. I play video games on my console. I watch cartoons. I watch sitcoms. And I watch some sports, mostly sports that nobody gives a crap about. I don't
curling.
No, I love curling. Cycling, English soccer. There are things, and college football I watch.
Yeah.
But ingesting seriousness or reality, absolutely not.
Well, it's not entertainment.
I don't watch dramas.
It's never been entertainment. Like, to me, how could news really be entertainment? To sit there mindlessly and to get my brain sucked into that TV screen.
It's all the bright colors. It's keeping you there until after these commercials from these fine people.
Do you think 9/11 set us up for that? No, the visual of 9/11, like everybody was completely attached to that TV for days, for weeks.
No, what you just said is true. We were that way before.
Okay,
that was just a point. That was horribly put. That was one generation's Beatles on Ed Sullivan moment.
Got it.
It was a horrible moment.
Yeah,
but everybody knew where everyone. That was before my generation. That was the Kennedy getting shot. That was the Beatles. That was the iconic. Everybody, the world, the planet, all was paying attention to the same thing at the same time. But all the gibberish of the planet was in full swing before that. That just gave us emotional pyrotechnics to connect with it.
Last question. I thought about 10 years ago, before the Kardashians were a thing, or before Instagram was around, I made the argument.
Before time.
Yeah, around 2002, 2005-ish, I used to make the argument that the most famous person on the planet, I thought, was Mick Jagger. And my rationale was that because of how long he's been famous,
right?
How in every celebrity circle through the 70s and 80s, he was always kind of there. There was always the music thing. And that he was weird looking. He was just, everything about him, that was a recognizable person. Now, you could have argued Clinton in that era. You could have argued
Lance Armstrong in that era.
Oprah Winfrey and things like that. But,
sure.
But the argument I always came down to was, and this is before Instagram, before the web had social media. It was just the web.
Before influencers.
Right on.
Right.
Now, so the Jagger was probably the most, you could land him on more countries in the planet and people would recognize that face.
Okay.
That was my argument.
Right.
If you ask me that question today because of social media, I don't even think it has an answer, because it could be Kim Kardashian this week. It could be, and my point is that we are constantly being diluted with a heavy hammer of entertainment / media we're being bludgeoned almost.
Right.
Now we're choosing to do it.
Well,
but we must like it because we keep going back to the well.
That's the important part to recognize. You're only getting bludgeoned by multimedia because you're standing there and watching the hammer come down. It's on you.
But why are we so? We're so, I don't know, likely to do it and keep doing it. That's the thing. Like
bread and circuses is what I said before. We'll watch it, and it may be a different subject for a different time.
Yeah.
I don't think the planet is nearly as dialed into celebrity culture and social media and platforms as we think we are when we talk about it on social media and platforms.
Or the celebrities want us to believe we are.
There's,
you know what I mean?
Well,
self-fulfilling prophecy for them.
It goes back to, if you're virtually famous, how is that really famous? Okay, if you can monetize it, all right, fine. But it's striking a pose, and there are people within a 2-hour drive, and I'm being generous. There are people within a 2-hour drive that if I showed up on their front step and ran down the list of the most famous people in the world, they wouldn't know who they are.
I believe that.
We don't know about those people because those people aren't one of the people on this.
Okay.
What did John Robinson say? USC had a big game, a bowl game, something. The last thing he said before USC went out was, remember, boys, there's 300 million Chinese people that don't care who wins this damn game. Okay? We think we're important because we have that to convince us, since we're able to share everything. There are people in Inuit villages in Alaska that don't know nothing to do with the Kardashians.
The world's a big place.
Yeah. And if the method of sharing information is the same method of talking about how important these people are, it's tunnel vision.
Yeah.
But there's a whole lot of people in the Amazon rainforest. Kim Kardashian could walk down the street. They wouldn't have the slightest clue who she is. And it's important to keep that in perspective, I think. We forget that.
We do. Yeah. All right, Ed. Thank you, buddy.
Was that all right?
It was awesome.
All right.
It's always awesome.
I said nothing bad about anyone.
No. Do we have to wait 9 months for you to do this again? Can we do this like on a regular basis?
What do you mean on a regular basis?
I'm
union, bro. When I walk in the door, it's 5 hours minimum.
I like 6 to 8 weeks.
6 to 8 weeks.
Every 6 to 8 weeks.
Good. I was like checking back.
I was going to say
when am I not on probation?
I was
check
going to
back.
say 4.
Check back 6 to 8 weeks. Dude, whenever.
All right. I appreciate it.
I live 9 miles from here.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, in the spring.
Close.
Just wait till the spring. I'll ride over.
Right on.
All right.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, man.
All right, friends. Eddie Crow. Crowtopia. Look him up.
Look him up.
He's kind of a big deal.
No, he's not.
We'll see y'all. Thank you, buddy.
Hello, you're listening to the Eric McKenna Project.